we've always talked about how there's long-term potential in India's aviation space, but medium-term, in terms of revival and a rebound, how will that play out?
I think the prospects are pretty positive. The domestic flying market has come back fairly strongly already. About 80% of the pre-COVID level of flying is back in the air. The load factors are around 70%. So a large chunk of the flying has come back, and this is even before the vaccine, and while we still have quarantine requirements in certain states and so forth. I expect that by this time next year, domestic flying will be back to what it was in 2019, because by that time we'll have the vaccine and the continued optimism hopefully will hold and things will get further back to normal. International, though, will take much more time because of border. Yes. Please go ahead.
That's right. I was just going to ask about international because Indian airlines want to claw back that share. How soon can that happen?
Well, international depends a lot on how the countries manage the borders and how the countries try to control the risk of inflow of COVID. However, I think once the vaccine gets out there pretty widely, countries that start opening the borders, India will also open up its borders more. Right now, it's restricted to certain kinds of visas and Indian passport holders only. And things will start bouncing back, but I expect that might take a couple of years before it gets back to 2019 levels.
Sanjeev, is this period a good time for consolidation? There's so many players in the sector, and not many are profitable.
Yeah, absolutely. I think one of the challenges in India has been that there are too many players. The market is fragmented. There's one very big player which has over 50% of the market, and the rest are fairly small players. There needs to be consolidation. There needs to be capacity rationalization and more pricing discipline. So one hopes that as we exit the COVID crisis, there will be some sensible steps taken to consolidate the market. Air India's for sale. Perhaps that'll be consolidated with one or two other airlines. There's also the possibility, however unpleasant it may be, that one or two airlines may not survive this crisis because while aviation is recovering, airlines are still making losses, and there are one or two airlines which are very close to the edge. But hopefully, after all is said and done, there will be some consolidation, the industry will be healthier, and thereafter the future prospects will actually be brighter.
Sanjeev, it's Rish. Okay, you mentioned Air India, that could be part of consolidation, it could be merged with another group, but at the moment the government there has received some early bids from Tata Group and a cohort of the airline's own employees. Do you think that this could be finally the time that Air India gets sold off? I mean, there have been so many abortive attempts to do this before.
Yeah, I think that this is really, I think it's likely to happen. The terms the government has set are far more favorable. I think the interest level is genuine. If you've got a player like the Tatas, now they haven't confirmed, to my knowledge, whether or not they have put in an expression of interest. But if someone like the Tatas, a well-funded, conglomerate with deep pockets, ends up being the buyer of Air India, I think that could be an outcome that is positive. However, having said that, turning Air India around is not going to be easy at all. It's going to need billions of dollars of capital. It's going to need a complete overhaul of almost every function. It needs a complete culture change. They've got old contracts, legacy issues, unions, etc. to deal with. They've got a culture which over time has become quite dysfunctional in terms of customer service, in terms of just ownership and accountability, etc. So whoever buys Air India will have their hands full. But Air India also has a lot of assets. The brand name, I think, is one of the glorious brand names of aviation back from the days of BOAC and Pan Am and Qantas and Japan Airlines. It's one of the original grand aviation brands. It's got slots in major airports, which are slot constrained. It's got bilateral rights. It's got maintenance facilities. It's got a skilled technical workforce. So there are a lot of positives there. But again, what I want to highlight is turning it around, even standalone, is going to be a big challenge. And you need some of the best global minds and experts to guide this turnaround. It cannot be done overnight, and it cannot be done by generalists. So hopefully whoever buys the airline will have the right people to turn it around.
Absolutely, some of the best minds, but would you have to be out of your mind to actually take on this task?
Well, 3 years ago, when the terms were very different, I think the answer would have been yes to your question. But right now, it seems the government has really relaxed the terms under which it's willing to sell Air India. It has written off a lot of the debt. It's willing to write off more of the debt. So I think, yeah, you'd have to be very brave to acquire Air India, but it's no longer as extreme as saying you have to be out of your mind. It's doable. You just need to have deep pockets, good expertise, patience, and a right management and leadership team to make this happen.
Yes, Tata has deep pockets, but Tata is also a major shareholder of Air Asia India, also Vistara. Could it be biting too much?
You see, I don't have visibility as to what they intend to do with the three airlines. If the plan is to merge two or three of the airlines together, that'll add more complexity. It'll add more challenges, and mergers in aviation are not easy. More fail than succeed. There is some talk that Air India may be held as a separate entity altogether. So we don't know what the Tatas are thinking. I certainly don't know what they're thinking. But again, if they have the right team in place, if they have Chinese walls in place between the airlines, Air India, can be made into a success story. Regardless of what the other two airlines, what the plans are for the other two airlines.
But Sanjay, for all these airlines, one of the biggest, I guess, things which slows down their progress, their growth pattern, is the amount of regulations imposed by the government, the red tape there. Do you think there has to be an overhaul in the way India actually manages the aviation industry itself and not have so many onerous regulations?
Yeah, absolutely. I think there's a lot of discussion going on with the government, and there has been even before COVID, on certain regulations that are onerous and that are counterproductive, and certain areas where the government should be focusing more to assist the airlines. The regulations that need to go away are, for example, they have certain route dispersal guidelines where airlines are forced to fly unprofitable routes. I think that needs to go away. It needs to be at least modified so that it's less onerous on the airlines. The high taxation on fuel needs to go away. Domestic fuel, aviation fuel in India is 40% more expensive than international aviation fuel in India, which is an anomaly and just doesn't make sense given that domestic fares are so low. And infrastructure is an area where the government, if they can invest more, especially in the larger cities, in the major airports. The government has been focused a lot on building up small airports, but it's the large airports that need a lot of attention. They need more capacity, more runways, more terminal space, more slots, etc. And the quality of the aviation infrastructure, the runways, often they're not in very good condition, etc. It adds to cost of the airlines.